afternoon. We're here with Pastor Mike Redeker from Messiah Lutheran With School.
Yes.
And this is a little bit of a change on, we're calling it With School. And why did we make that change, and what does that mean?
Well, the official title is still "and school," on legal documents and everything else. But over the last number of years, we've been stressing that, if you go Messiah Lutheran Church and school, then you sort of set up this division that there's two different entities. But when you go Messiah Lutheran Church with a school or with school, it emphasizes the one ministry, one outreach, because that's what Messiah is. It's a Lutheran church who 43 years ago started a school. So it's with a school. And that emphasizes what, we're all about. That's our largest part of the budget. We're reaching church families, but we're also reaching unchurched families with excellence in academics. But primarily it is the rock of Christ, and that's why we exist.
And I think that's so important. As you know, my grandkids have been to Messiah.
And I think I have a granddaughter this year.
Yes, you do. Oh, yes, she's excited too to have you. And the thing that I noticed about Messiah Lutheran is what a family it is, and how I know that Ruth, my partner here, is working on a fundraiser for the school, and it's a huge yard sale that you do every year. And the Friday Partners, where they have lunch with an older adult, and it just seems like there's so much care in this school, but also a lot of academic rigor. So can you talk to us about, I know you're nationally accredited, so talk to us about the curriculum and the academics, and maybe why you would even have a yard sale to enable more kids to come to school here.
Well, the yard sale, I think, has been around since the days of Moses. So it's been around for quite a while. And that is our biggest fundraiser. And it's really helped out because I think we raise sometimes between $8,000 and $11,000. So it goes toward the school, but it also goes towards other ministry. We just had a governance change that happened a couple of weeks ago. And so now we're going to be able to be more focused in a direction. And the direction will be obviously the school. And so the yard sale helps out quite a bit. We've also been blessed with receiving a new principal, and her name is Principal Sue Eberhard. She just started here July 1st. The moving truck came last week finally, so they're kind of settled in, I'm not sure. She comes to us from the Fort Wayne, Indiana area. I forgot what community it is, but she's got not only classroom experience, but she also has principal administrative experience. And God is really good because he's held Messiah Lutheran Church with the school together over the last 10 years. I've been here 7.5 years. The principal had retired before that. The pastor had passed away before that. And so really we haven't had a person in that position that can really have experience in administration the way that Sue has. And we haven't had that for about 10 years. So God has held us together in many different ways, and we've loved it. Now, what Sue brings to the table, not only administratively, but also various classroom endeavors, is she works with traditional education, but she also works, she's got a heart and has had experience in classical education. So we're going to be building on the strengths that we've had over the last 43 years. What makes us different is we do, phonics for reading. So phonics starts out in kindergarten. Okay. Some other ones teach block reading. I don't know if you know what that is. Okay. So, block words, you recognize the word, but you don't really spell it out. you really got to break that brick down into various stones, right? And so what does this letter sound like? How do you put them together? And so we have that starting in kindergarten, along with numbers and everything else, and having a lot of fun. So kindergarten is supposed to be fun. That's what we had, and you're having fun learning. And then it moves into first and second grade, and then third and fourth, etc. This year, a couple of years ago, we moved our math curriculum over, and so now that is Singapore math, which is a good traditional way of learning math. And I think a year or so after that, we moved our science curriculum and we used Bob Jones. So what's nice about Bob Jones is it teaches the biblical way of creation and science. But we also need to prepare the kids for, if and when they go into public high school, because now they're going to be seeing different things like that. So, what we try to and strive to do here is to teach them the biblical worldview and how to see the world, but also, they got to understand so they don't get whacked upside the head when they're going to high school. Like, what's all this stuff about? Right. So they have that. The other thing is we have a class that really other schools don't have, and that's called Worldview. We have an instructor here, and he works for Alpha Omega. Mr. Mauser, what he does is he teaches these kids about various worldviews. And so it has obviously the Christian foundation. But again, as Christians living in the world but not of the world, we got to know how the world functions, how the world operates. How do they think? Why do they make the decisions that they do or don't do? And so this worldview class is rigorous, but it helps mold the kids into a way of thinking Christianly in a world that isn't Christian. Because, again, we're in the world but not of the world. Then I'll be helping out Mrs. Eberhard. She's taking our third and fourth grade. We had a teacher take a class, take a position up in Minnesota. So he's no longer here. And so she's taking core courses, and I'll be helping her out with one of them. It'll be 5th and 6th grade American history. And so what we also do is, traditional American history, none of the woke stuff. I'll be helping them understand what they're going to be getting into, but the primary emphasis is, what is patriotism? What kind of blood was shed for our republic and the freedoms that we have now? And so the curriculum just came in this morning. I'll be using items from Memoria Press, I believe it is. And I really like that, and I'll be bringing in a few other things. She'll be teaching also, I think, American history to the 7th and 8th graders, and she's got experience from that. The other item that I really like that we're bringing in this year is Latin. So a few years ago, when our Spanish teacher retired, we she said, I can't do this anymore, right? But she did come back for one more year. And one of my goals was, how can we bring in a language that the kids can really use? Not that you can't use Spanish or you can't use German, right? But I wanted to take a look a little beyond that. And so one of my dreams was to have American Sign Language brought in, because something like 96% of the deaf are unchurched. Plus, the kids can have, when they learn this skill, and they've learned it pretty well over the last couple of years. I'm surprised to see how they can talk. But this way then, if they keep that up when they get to high school, it's much more marketable for them, because wherever they work, somebody's going to need some sign language. Well, our sign language teacher, took a full-time position at CMU in May. So what's nice is now we were able to bring in Latin. I think over half the English language is in Latin or is derived from Latin. And so this is a great way to help the kids I think we're starting in 3rd and 4th grade, start learning Latin, having fun, finding out about it. It's going to be a challenge. It's different. But in doing so, now they'll be able to recognize more of where the English language comes from. This will also help them in their verbal testing scores and a lot of other things, which is one of the goals. Is we started a new, it's new for us, but not new for education, called MAPS testing. I think it's NWEA. I forgot what it all stands for. But what's nice about this is now we can do testing a couple of times throughout the year, get our results instantaneously, so then we can start making changes by class and even by student, and break that down and go, where do they need some help? What are we doing right? What might we be needing to do differently? And so one of the goals is to continue to raise up our language art, our language scores. And so Latin will be able to help out with that as well. Okay, and continue building on our great science and great math skills that we have. So those are some of the things that are coming up this year, and we're just thrilled. Also, every school has discipline issues. You know, it's just the way it goes. How do you manage these? These kittens that are all over the place, right? You know, how do you round them up? And she's got some good old-fashioned ways of working with discipline that I'm excited to see, that I haven't seen since I was a kid, and that was going way back, thousands of years. Okay. So anyway, yeah, it's like herding kittens, but this is going to work out. I'm thrilled. And anybody who's looking for a fantastic education, because it's rigorous, but also Christ-centered, how to help your child learn and form a Christian worldview. What is it? It's one thing to learn the Lord's Prayer and recite some of these things, but then how do you move it from head to heart to hands? So that's what we're doing here.
And I can definitely attest that you're successful in that. You also, you're nationally accredited, which I think is really important. Weren't you one of the only private schools that are? Or?
Yeah, from my understanding is we're one of the only, if not the only, private school in the Valley that's accredited through a national agency. So it's a Lutheran education agency. It's nationally accredited. They do accreditation nationally, and so we were able to do that. Even though when it started a couple of years ago, we were short a principal, but they saw where we were at and what we were doing, and so they moved forward with it, and we got I think a perfect score. So now we're just taking those. The way accreditation works is you do a self-study, and you go, where do you see your strengths? Where do you see your weaknesses? Then they bring in a team of people from outside of the congregation, and they bring this team in, and then they do their assessments, and they find out, are you right? Are you wrong? Are there things that you missed? And afterwards, then they put together a whole report with these things going, here are some suggestions. And it's not just in the academics, but it's also, in the facilities, in security issues. It covers a whole gamut of things. Relationship between the church and the school and the church. And there's something like 7 areas. And so what they do then is there's suggestions that are put down that we came up with, but also the ones that they came up with. And over the next cycle, then, we are to work on those to improve for the next one. So accreditation is really important because it actually gives you a benchmark of where you're at. You see where you want to go in the future, and it kind of maps things out so that there's a progression of growth and strengthening in the formation of the child academically, but also formation of the child in their faith life and walk. And there are non-Christians that attend our church too, primarily for the academics. We don't do any of the various woke things that are out in the culture.
We don't have CRT theories. We
don't use
communism.
CRT. Right. Marxism, communism, the CRT, the DEI. We believe that God creates and God doesn't make any mistakes. And so what you are at birth, it's not your assignment at birth. This is what you were born with. And help them to learn and grow in their understanding of what does it mean to be a boy? What does it mean to be a girl? Right? And as they grow up into young men and young women, what does that mean? And to appreciate this gift of manhood and womanhood that God has made them to be, not where you can change these things. Now, again, in my 7th and 8th grade religion class, I do let them know what they're going to be getting exposed to if they haven't been exposed to it already, just being out there, right? And so I help them prepare. I help them try on a very low level, try to help them understand maybe why do people think this way or believe that way. And, in transgenderism, for instance, I think it's 0.00085% of the population actually is gender dysphoric. Okay, but there's counseling for that. Our culture has skipped right over that, and now, instead of 0.00085%, now it's like, the fad or the thing to do. And there's a lot of dangers in there, not just psychological, but physical when they go through, puberty blockers and a lot of these other things that are going on. So I want to help the kids understand this, because Satan likes to influence. And I want them to be prepared that when, not if, but when these things come their way, that they have a better understanding and a foundation. And that's why the worldview class is important. The religion classes are important. Being instructed by, Christian teachers is important. And especially for those who might not be connected to the church, who are non-Christian, they're going to get Jesus. They're going to get God's love in the Bible. And that God don't make no junk, that each one of those kids is special and not a mistake.
And how do you see the product that you have? How well do they transition into public school, since we don't have a Christian high school yet from anywhere?
Well, I'd like to change that for 2025, but that's
good.
But that's a big ambition, and there's obviously people to talk to, but there's different ways to do that. And in our Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, there's ways to do this in a hybrid manner, with distance learning and physical in-person education, without having to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars putting a shovel in the ground. So I'd like to look at that for 2025. That's a goal. Will I hold my breath? I might. I think I will, because I think we still have enough time to do it. But in the event that doesn't happen, or even if that does happen, there's still this need to there's still people who are going to go on in a public education, right? Or maybe a different form. Our graduates are very well prepared for the public school system, okay? The public schools have told us over the years they love our graduates because they're well behaved, they've got a solid base of education, they know how to do the work, okay? Because it's not just kind of, passing them along without accountability. Some schools do that. We do not. And so they love our graduates. Now, are they the most well-behaved and perfectly behaved kids in the world? No, because we're all, in a fallen world. We're all sinners. But they've told us, and they've approached us, that they love our graduates because they are better well-behaved. They are better mannered. They are very well educated, and they've got that solid foundation. And that's why Messiah Church with the school is really important. So we bring this all together.
I think so too. Now, we have talked about tuition, and this is one of the most amazing things I think about your school. As you have said, we won't turn any child away because they can't afford to come. We will figure it out. So can you talk a little bit about that, and how you're able to do that, and what tuition looks like for these kids?
I'd have to get you the actual tuition. I can't remember it offhand, but we've kept our tuition low. We're one of the lower ones in the valley, but we're not the lowest. I know in the district, amongst other Lutheran schools, we're one of the lowest. And that's not to say that we're bad, because sometimes people will, take a look at a price tag of something and go, oh, is this a Cadillac or a Yugo, right? The Yugo is much cheaper. There's going to be more problems and things like that. No, not with us. We try to keep it affordable. We're trying to keep it at a market level. Obviously everything goes up, so tuition's going to have to go up. But there are other funding models that can help. And so we don't want people to say, I can't afford private education. I can't afford Lutheran education. No, come to us and we'll figure it out. We do have people in the congregation who donate to our scholarship fund. Some of the things from the yard sale goes to the scholarship fund. We're starting a long-term, we have already begun a long-term assistance to that through endowments. Now the endowment has to get built up, but then when it gets built up to a certain point, it spins off, it'll spin off profits or dividends that will then be used for, tuition. So we're working on it. And we don't want anyone, even today, to say, I don't think I can check them out because I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want to put other people out. I want to, tow my own line. I want to row my own boat. No, you come with us and check us out. Fill out an application. We'll see how this works. Meet with Principal Eberhardt and we'll figure it out.
And I think that's wonderful. So how many kids do you have? When do you start? What sort of room do you have in your school for more kids?
We've got plenty of room. I shouldn't say plenty, but we do have room. I'm not sure what the numbers are yet. I haven't gotten the latest numbers. I'd like to see 80 coming in. I'd like to see more. The goal is we can hold 140. And I want to see, in the next couple of years, 140 with a waiting line because of, it's just that's the way, the culture is working and has gone. People are looking for different options. We are a viable option and can be affordable. COVID took a toll on all the schools, and so we're recovering yet from some of that COVID. But and also demographics. The demographics are showing that there are less students, of school age that are out there. And here on the Western Slope, this is more of a retirement community. So that is affecting everybody, including the public schools, which is why, to the credit of D51, they've had to make some hard decisions about closing schools. And I know that they've taken a lot of heat from, the community in some or many circles. But that's a reflection also of, demographics that can't be changed. Unless people can have tons of kids right away, school age kids before August 13th, when we start, well, that's what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
So, we just have to deal with reality.
Right.
But yeah, we start August 13th. I think we're going to have about 80 kids. I'm not quite sure. I'd like to see more. We're doing a lot more recruiting, intentional recruiting over the last couple of months. So I'd like to see that pay off dividends somewhat this year and especially for next year.
So what haven't I asked you? Because I know that we have been so pleased. Our granddaughter that's still here at Messiah, our grandson's up in high school. He's going to be a senior. And
he's a senior already?
He's a senior.
Oh, good grief.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But, I know she is so happy here. She feels loved and safe. And I know she gets a great education. She's held accountable. But at the same time, she doesn't feel, and I love the interaction between the different age groups. They all take care of each other. And we didn't ask about the activities that you have, which they all enjoy.
Well, one of the things that started here and it grew organically, I think right before I got here 7.5 years ago, so they've probably been doing it about 8 years or so, is something called Lunch Bunch. And Lunch Bunch is lining up each of the students with a prayer partner from church. And this is one of the beautiful ways of bringing together the church with the school, and that it's not two separate ministries but one ministry. And that's one of the beautiful activities. So in the beginning of the year, when all the chicks are counted and everything else, we take pictures of all the students and faculty and things like that. We plunk them up on a wall, and then people from church will take them and as a prayer partner. So they pray for them throughout the year. They get to know them a little bit better. Then one Friday a month, we have something called Lunch Bunch, where the prayer partners and the people from church and whatnot gather together over a lunch, and it's great. They can build that relationship and do those kinds of things. We also have music. A lot of schools have had to cut various programs because of budget. We've got a fantastic music program. Mrs. Ramsey is great in teaching them. I think they get into a little bit of tonettes or recorders, whatever they call them these days. Also, Orff instruments, where they learn different sounds and whatnot. She brings a lot out of them with music. What I do is, for my religion class, part of their work is to learn a hymn every month for the upcoming season in the church year. So the church year is divided up into different seasons. So you've got Advent, Christmas, Epiphany, Lent, Easter, and then you've also got this Pentecost season, which is divided up into Christian living and Christian growth. And what we'll be entering into is something called the church militant. So they learn usually a mighty fortress or something along that line, and then church triumphant, like Jerusalem the Golden or something like that. I want them to learn these hymns in music so that at least it's on the back burner somewhere that, okay, in life when struggles happen, because they are going to happen, the Holy Spirit can pull some of that out. And Mrs. Ramsey is really good at helping them learn these things, bringing, memorizing different things, bringing in all the kids of all the ages into various choir. The other thing we have is sports. And so we've got, volleyball will begin in fall. That's one of our fall sports. And so it's a mixed group. When we have a big enough class, then what we had in the past was boys and girls, but now we mix them together and we play other schools. So volleyball is coming up, and then after that is basketball for our winter sport, and then we get ready for the huge track meet that we've been doing for, I think Corky started this thing about 25 years ago. And so we bring in schools from all around, private schools from all around the valley. So we've got that going on, just like a regular school.
Anything I haven't asked? Because you're really good at covering things.
Well, anybody who, even has an inkling should come and check us out. If they're not happy with what their kids or grandchildren's educational level or progress is at, check us out. We've had a number of students coming in from the public sector into here. And even though it's a challenge because it's a little more rigorous, we work with the kids. We also work with the Dyslexia Foundation that's here. I think now it's called AHA. And so we work with them. They come in and assess the kids so that they can identify maybe some people with some learning challenges early on, so that can be corrected and worked with. So we do have those capabilities and things like that. We don't have full capabilities like the public school, but they can come here, and then any sort of learning challenges are taken care of by the public school in their address area. And that they have to do because they pay taxes which support the public schools.
Right. Well, this has been a great time again.
And we don't take government money.
And that's important because
We
you're
don't
not
take
government control.
Right. We do not take government money. There was something going through, like for the universal preschools. That's been a challenge for us. And some Christian schools have kind of latched onto that. And it was like nailing Jello to a wall. There were things that were defined very vaguely. And now there have been some lawsuits because the Christian schools can't abide by that requirement, that all of a sudden now is getting, more tightly defined. And we don't take government money because we don't want the strings attached.
Right.
I think that's about it, Lisa.
Okay, great.
Can't remember anything else.
Well, I'm sure you will later on.
Yes, it always happens.
But
Yes.
we appreciate your time. You've been watching Mesa County Compass. This is the facts as we know them, the truth as we see it. You decide.
Good afternoon. We are here with George Avgaris. He is the director of the Grand Junction Learning Center, a new business in town, basically, things that we really need and didn't really realize we did need. So George, would you give us a little bit of an explanation about what you do and how you go about it, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us, Ruth. We're excited to be in Grand Junction, Colorado. We recently opened up our Grand Junction Learning Center here May 1st. Downtown, we're on 336 Main Street, right above the Goat and Clover Bar and Restaurant. So that's where we're going to be accepting students and their families to where they can come in and as you can tell, come in and get help with college prep and tutoring. The bread and butter of our program is we help families through the maze of college preparation, and it could be any sort of military, vocational school, not just college, any sort of post-secondary higher education. It's very unique in that it's not a classroom setting. We provide one-on-one assistance with the families. We help with PSAT, SAT, and ACT training and testing to enhance those scores, that thus enable the student and the family to have access to more funding resources, scholarship money. That's the big one. Any sort of career interest that the student may have, if they want to be a nurse, an attorney, any sort of occupation where we have a job shadow program where we can get the kids out into the community in that particular aspect and shadow that vocation to make sure we're headed in the right direction, so that by the time their senior year rolls around, we have a really good grasp on what they want to transition and what focus that they want to do.
And you help the student actually focus on what they may want to do, rather than
and
just grabbing straws.
Yeah, and grabbing straws is okay, but that can be very costly. So we want to try to minimize that and make the student as marketable and as attractive, and the parents and families as well, to whatever college, university, trade, or technical school, so that they can receive as much help that they can and be rewarded for all their hard work that they did do in high school. So
Okay.
yeah, we do in addition to that, college search and readiness, help with any sort of sports eligibility, NC2A. I've worked with a lot of families in just alternative sports, lacrosse, hockey, tennis, but anything regarding their athletic areas,
Right.
As well as academic. They need to be an academic student as well. They may not be able to pursue that as a lifetime career or goal, so that way they have some education behind them and still can be able to provide for their family.
There you go.
Yeah, all the financial aid, like I said, the job shadowing, we're happy to help with the homeschool families here in town, public school systems, private school systems. So again, we don't have any necessarily guidelines or rules. We just want to make sure that the people and families have access to additional resources if that there may be lacking. So we're here to complement and provide additional resources at a very modest cost for families.
So kind of what age group do you normally see?
I think ideally we're looking through 9 through 12, freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors, that high school age bracket. Typically we don't work with younger students. That's not our forte. It's not my wheelhouse. I've worked with high school students for nearly 2 decades now, so that's when we try to grab them and get all this information that we can, whether if they need tutoring in math or English, reading comprehension, test taking, time management skills. So it's literally just a full menu of services that we can offer to mom and dad and the student. And typically they'll try to, they can kind of, and if they have a specific area where, hey, can you just get our students' SAT or ACT scores up for the college so we can get some more scholarship money, we can do that. or they're struggling with vocabulary or reading comprehension or math. Math is a big one. You know, we can hone in on that and make sure that they're getting the extra help. And there's nothing wrong with getting extra help. It's identifying those weaknesses now, so that when they transition to, you know, college, trade, or technical school, they're not struggling. It's an easier transition.
That would have been something I would have appreciated when I was younger.
Oh yeah, me too.
It's been a long time ago,
Yeah.
but the
Same.
math tutoring would have been my thing. I'm totally devoid of math. I can add, subtract, multiply, and divide, and beyond that, forget it.
Right.
I don't even understand it. So
Yeah, so we're able to provide that to the families and the students. And another unique aspect, not that it's unique, but we do. It is year-round programming. We go throughout the course of the summer, and you know, if the holiday breaks, if families take vacations or whatever, we're also available on the weekends, Saturdays and Sundays. Sometimes might be a good downtime to maybe get the keys from mom and dad and take the car and come and see George, and come get some additional help on the weekends too, when it's not so you know, hectic.
but your students do come in here. You don't do any online learning.
No, it's all brick and mortar. The students physically come in to our student center here downtown, almost like a dentist's office or a doctor's office. They schedule an appointment weekly, depending on how much, you know, programming they need. But typically it's once a week for an hour, hour and a half. They come in and we assist them through the programming that they're doing, and it's just part of the routine. They're just, whether it's band, church, sports, clubs, work, you know, this is just another
Piece of that puzzle.
another piece that we want to just make sure that by the time they're a senior, all the puzzle pieces are put together, and the stress, hopefully the stress is going to be there, but hopefully it's a little bit less, because it's you know, it's one of those life events where we need to transition that student, you know, out into the real world. So
Right.
we want to make sure that goes as smoothly as possible.
That sounds very good. And you're open 5 days a week, 4 days a week, what?
Actually, right now we're open 7 days.
Are you?
Yeah, 7 days a week. Fridays, I'm a little hesitant to do Fridays. We probably won't do Fridays down the road, just because it's game night, date night. I've attempted to try Fridays before, and I got stood up for the football game.
I'm sure.
And that's understandable. We got to, within reason, but typically we'll probably do like Monday through Thursday, and then Saturday, take Friday off, and then Saturdays and Sundays, depending, you know, by appointment, and however we can work around their weekend schedule too. So.
And I suppose the expense of doing this is depending on what exactly they need. So
Yeah, the expense, it's a modest expense up front. It's, you know, we do have some, it's based on some dues. They can either enroll their student for a semester for a modest amount, and then, which is ends up typically being a huge return for, you know, from scholarships and other financial opportunities, or for a little bit of a discount, they can enroll their student for the whole school year. So we give them a discount. So yeah, we try to work with people. We don't want to stick anybody with any additional, you know, it's hard enough right now to put food on the table, and textbooks and gasoline and rent and mortgage. So we're trying to be, you know, we're trying to be fair, but we do have to, you know, we have to keep our facility open and our staff and stuff like that. But we're still way under what the national average is as far as cost. So,
well, and it's such a needed thing. So many children need that. So many students need the extra help, and I think it's very important to know that you do help those with the GED program as well.
Sure, yeah.
So that's
we've helped. We've helped adults in the past if they maybe have lost jobs, or maybe the college was a little too, you know, maybe they just had some fear and it was too much. This is a little bit less intimidating, you know, not such a little off the radar, I guess, if you will, but help them just get their feet back, get their feet wet, get them reintroduced into technology and maybe back into a field of study that's, you know, that maybe they just thought was not tangible and actually is now. So technology can be very good and can be very bad, but if you got to be able to just, you know, work the ins and outs to your advantage and use that.
Very good. Well, once again, how can anybody contact you so that they can get started on this program?
That's a great question. Yes, we're on the World Wide Web. Naturally, Google's our dictionary now. But we're located. If you just Google search GrandJunctionLearningCenter.com, Facebook, we have all that. We're more than. We have our digital imprint that we're working on. You can also call us here locally, 970-250-3724. 970-250-3724, and get a hold of us there. Our website, you can practically set up appointments and chat with us and contact with us online too, through various aspects like that. So whatever's easiest for the family to do, we're pretty much set up as kind of a turnkey operation. Just want to make it useful and affordable to our families here in Grand Junction, and we're excited. We're excited to be a part of the community and another resource for education here in town. So, thank you very much.
It's very exciting to me to hear what you have to offer, because it's been needed for a long time here in the Valley.
Yeah, well, thank you, and we are very grateful and happy to be here and happy to help. So
thank you, George.
Yeah.
Appreciate you being on.
Okay, thank you.